Good afternoon and welcome to another magical story from Dr. Anna from my book, Tales of a Modern Alchemist, Real Life Stories of Magic and Transmutation. This book is available as an ebook, virtual book, and as a physical book in Amazon. And I have put the links down here in the text box. And this story is called Uranus in Our Sun, the Solar Revolution. Prepare yourself for a transition. Of course, I wrote this in 2020, and the transition is now well underway. But this day was a lovely August Sunday afternoon, and my husband, my daughter, and I decided to go for a walk by the promenade. And I was talking to him incessantly as I was explaining very excitedly that I felt that the energies were ready to bring me an upgrade, that I was ready to leave my professional shell and expand my wings, and that this was going to be prompted by something new coming into my life. Saturated with my continuous chattering, this poor man could not take any more information in, but he was hammering me along. And as I arrived home, I tuned into YouTube, and there was my one and only favorite Spanish astrologer, Jose Millán, with a new video about Uranus being in the sun house, confirming everything that I had already detected with my etheric radar. He said that when we don't work with Uranus on a regular basis, it brings shocking changes. It is as if we were someone inside different from what we believe ourselves to be and which we show to the world outside. Usually, we do this because we suppress our real selves in order to fit in. Because Uranus was in our sun, this would force our real selves to break down our defense mechanisms, and the result would be that something new would enter our lives. I am very familiar with the situation where our external crust of self-identification is stripped away by the energies and circumstances in our lives. I underwent that very same experience as a major life cycle when I had my baby at the age of 40 in 2006. And this lasted the whole first year of nursing her. And I really went through an intense stage of isolation where I was forced to shed everything I had thought to be true until then. I was in a foreign country and I didn't have hardly any friends. I had just arrived. My family was in Spain. The baby wanted to be in my arms 24/7. And I understood that these new star babies want to be within the mother's aura every minute of the day, because that's where they spend their first 9 months of their life, and that's where they feel safe and secure. And even though the experts advise you to sleep trying the baby, for me, it was a soul-destroying technique. I was reading the mainstream books, had to stop reading them because I felt totally inadequate, and I decided to choose to follow my intuition and tap into the baby's needs, and I decided to give the baby what the baby needed. I wasn't working at the time, so I had the time, but we just arrived at the country. We didn't have a lot of money coming in, so my first lockdown situation imposed by those circumstances of the time were very harsh. So I decided to study a PhD in metaphysics online because I wanted to upgrade. I had already written about 16 books, and I also decided to get into Toastmasters because the universe gave me the information that I should, and they were 3 to 4 years, very intense. And today when I look back, I don't even know how I went through it, but maybe because life needed me to, and I needed to hit that standard. But the fact is that I spent countless hours reading spiritual books, meditating when my daughter was sleeping by my side during the day, and soul searching in the most unbelievable and deep way. I had my little setup by the sofa, my little book, my little coffee, ready to spend hours at a time doing the only thing that I could do: read, write, meditate, and contemplate. I hit on some concepts that made me open up my heart chakra in ways I didn't think possible. There were times that something so deep would be touched that I would cry bitterly, releasing encrusted, blocked energies, expanding my mind as new clarity would arrive at the end of each releasing episode. And this went on for a whole year. And by the time this cycle ended, it ripped my ego into pieces. It was unavoidable and it was necessary in order for me to follow the path that I said I wanted to follow as a consciousness coach. All in all, I worked with it for about 3 years, and it opened me to groundbreaking concepts and trailblazing approach to life. I can say for sure that the result of this planetary arrangement was that everything we identify ourselves with needs to break away, and in the process, we emerge differently. There is a turn perhaps prompted by someone new entering our lives, definitely new openings and possibilities. And this can sound discomforting, but it's really good news because it means that something that we are secretly waiting or wishing for can now take shape. In fact, it can materialize as a change of circumstances at any level in our lives. Another aspect of this planetary positioning is that Uranus makes us work in a net, where one node or point in a web linked to the rest of humanity. Jose Millian describes it as the neurons in our brain. By chance, I was reading through a diary from the 4th of May of 2020, and I found an excerpt from Norma Simon, my favorite international psychic, whom I used to see every 6 months in order for me to double check that the path I was following was actually right for me, just for confirmation. And she said, your voice is the key. You transfer light when you talk, relax when you speak so that you can get into trance and others can focus. You change their DNA to release the information held there through sound and language. The way I speak, you can see there is a rhythm and a pattern is very specific. I don't just say any word, I choose the specific word. The sentences, how they follow each other, also get you into a zone, into a triggering space. She said, there is a new role for me of great responsibility. You just need to remember, which means tapping into your DNA and recover what is already there as a blueprint. It will start with a change in attitude, living life in a completely new way, and you will receive an upgrade. That was the message. It was true. January 2019, I decided that I wanted to build a free online library of metaphysical posts from the 17 books that I had written so far, and I devoted all my time to do it. But the technology that I knew wasn't like today, so my videos were not physical in person, they were recorded. People didn't resonate. But by July 2019, after having pushed against all the common sense that my intuition was dictating, I was going against what I knew I should be doing. I was getting so far away from my own path of joy that I had to stop completely because I felt awful, exhausted, and I didn't know where I was going anymore. I had managed to produce about 80 videos, podcasts, blogs, gathered over 9,000 contacts in LinkedIn, more than 400 members in my group, live discussions with Dr. Anna in my YouTube channel. It was just too much. And it was like a race against time. I didn't know where I was going so fast and what for. So I decided to simply stop and regroup. And as I stopped, I entered an existential crisis. Not the first time. I've been there before, so I knew I would overcome it, but it was scary. And it hit me unexpectedly. And it was more intense than I thought it would be. And I needed to redirect myself. So by September 2019, I started to listen to Abraham's Hicks on YouTube. And then my mindset started to just adjust little by little, starting to settle. And I felt as if I needed to leave behind an old language, which is my old spiritual language, on which I built all my books. That's why I am rewriting them today as I go, putting the posts and these videos and everything else. So I'm upgrading my whole collection and expanding the offering I want in the future courses, I have audiobooks, video, YouTube, articles, books, everything else. I am bringing it all into life. I'm rewriting as I go. I needed to connect to a new language, and at the time I didn't know what it was. But very shortly I found it, because by November 2019, listening to Greg Baden and Bruce Lipton, areas of epigenetics, neuroscience, vibrational psychology, I started to understand that we need to also work with the unconscious mind, which rules 95% of our waking time, and start working as well on focused thinking. Kind of, my right brain is my spiritual brain, and I have been working on it for over 20 years, and now the idea was to link both brains, left and right, and work with it together, connecting both. Norma said I would receive an upgrade, and that's exactly how I felt. One day in December 2019, I felt as if I had finally discarded my outmoded way of seeing the world. It took about 6 months, and I was entering a new and more empowered one. And by January 2020, I was full of new hopes and ideas. It felt liberating. It felt as if I stepped into a new world. So I decided to go back to looking at my information that I had gathered over time about who I thought I was, and looked at my archetypes from Caroline Myss, mixed with my totem animals, to see what I could get in common, like a more distilled, more powerful focus for my direction. And I found that my specialization comes from house 2, which is Taurus or Earth, with an archetype of mentor. And the values are developing integrity. Integration means pulling your consciousness together. Challenge, surviving abandonment. We all have a pattern of abandonment. The archetype is the magical child with innocence and trust, which is what gives me my faith. And the shadow archetype, confronting greed, releasing fear of loss. We always feel we're leaving something behind, but in fact we have to, but we don't feel we can. The totem is the whale, the author, writer, scriber, wordsmith, with record-keeping abilities, the wisdom holder. I have whale totem in this house, the writer or scriber with clairaudient capabilities, wisdom holder that comes from the Pleiadians and taps into the potential of working as a channel or link. And I remember Norma when she said, Anna's voice is a portal opener. The artist, the writer, the author is the ace, the skilled mentor, coach, educator, the guide or wordsmith who theorizes, in my case, with spiritual concepts or philosophy, hence becoming a specialist in my field. But I had already studied my PhD in metaphysics from 2006 to 2010. So at some level, I had already picked up the connection. And now I was happy that I had actually followed through, because I could understand the reason why I did it. And now it was all done. My spirit told me years ago that I had been an energy engineer in Atlantis. If this was true, I could work with energies to weave them into new matrices, build with energy. In other words, the sound of my voice, together with my conscious intention, could rework or repair or calibrate other people's resonating genetic light language codes, the magnetic energies of the DNA or hidden potential, repairing their mind, body, and soul by releasing their his stories in order to redirect their future. This is a very convoluted way to say that I could help people heal, or that I could channel information and translate it into words to help people redirect their focus. During 2020, by the time of writing this book, and I published it by October, I was already onto an energy highway. I was receiving so much information so fast. I was creating all sorts of inspirational posts, medias, articles, podcasts. By this time, I wasn't driving myself to do it. I was just doing them as I went along, according to when they arrived in my mind without any specific goal. A friend said to me, "What did you intend to achieve?" "Nothing. It's just an expression of my soul, a labor of love." I continued to work on my YouTube channel, live discussions with Dr. Ana, and then I created its equivalent in Spanish, Elevando Conciencia, Raising Consciousness, together with my sister, medical doctor Esther Garcia, and I also created a polyglot channel, Polyglot Basque, posting basic grammar lessons in Basque, French, Spanish, and English, and the various combinations of these languages. I was like a rocket that kept going, a machine working at full gas. But in April and July 2020, I had two distance attunements, a whale attunement and a Lemurian heart attunement. Attunements are energy transfers across time and space in the shape of a chi ball or energy ball. They are incredibly powerful and they raise your consciousness. These two attunements highlighted or reinforced the engineer or designer at heart level. The guide or teacher in me would tap into helping others integrate the consciousness by offering various products that resonated with color, with sound, with movement, with words. These blue whale Lemurian attunements are part of the initiation, healing, empowerment system by the site, I put it here, newearthenergies.org. And they assist you in clearing your energy fields and emotional body to awaken your cellular memory. In 2010, when I obtained my PhD and my DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster, I decided that I no longer wanted to hide between the name of a business, Stargate Communications, Life Path Coaching. I wanted to be myself. And I wanted to be that which I wanted to teach. You cannot teach something you don't know about. So I did not want to hide myself behind the name, and this is why I upgraded my name. And a friend of mine did a lexigram for me. A lexigram is a numerology of the vibrational energy in your name, in your full name, and it's not numerology. It's more like an intuitive play of letters to arrive at hidden potentials expressed in your name. As it is, the potential of my name changed from a number 2, Ana García Urquiaga, to a number 1, Dr. Ana García, PhD, DTM. And now the potential of my name was Arcturian Guardian, Graphic Grid, Teacher of DNA, Grid Data, Teacher of Guru, Mega Cure, Head Lead, meaning there is a toga, there is a level, there is a recognition, there is a reputation and a specialization. Furthermore, my lexigram stated magic aura, a generator that taps into the emotions of released memories to integrate parallel realities. It was clear to me that magic is only a shift of consciousness. We all have it and we all experience it in our everyday lives, whether we pay attention or not. And in my case, the magical powers of my name, and magical for the only reason that I had already integrated my potentials to that point, my genetic web or magic was fully alive, pulsating, and it expressed itself, expressed into reality as a scientific metaphysicist. Many will call it pseudoscientific metaphysicist, and that's fine. The wizard or the alchemist in me. Because in 2006, when Spirit told me, join the Toastmasters Club nearest to you, it will open the door to your future, communication and leadership. The vision that I was given with it was that of an icebreaker. I saw myself as a huge icebreaker, cracking the ice as I was going. And the message that came with it was I would break stagnant energies and ignite people within, as I could see the patterns of our plans. And when we break the crust of our heart that we create or put there a wall in order to protect ourselves, we also limit our expression of who we are. And under the ice, there is the nutrition. And the same as behind the crust, we have the energy of the power of the heart chakra. And as it was when I was in the Toastmasters Club in Cape Town that day of June 2006, pregnant 5 months in the heat of the summer, and I don't do well in the heat, wondering why on earth was I putting myself through all this. The baby was going to arrive around October, And I was given an envelope with forms to sign, and I reached inside and pulled the first page, and what came out was a page called the icebreaker. The first speech you give is called the icebreaker. And tears started to roll down my face. And people didn't know what was going on. I said, they're just hormones. Because most people thought I was going to stop once I had the baby. But I had a purpose, and I was going to finish what I started. Jupiter in my second house of values, where the archetype of the mentor is the entrepreneur that discerns patterns, hence the polyglot, decoder or linguist in me, and guided all these previous skills into leadership, theorizing clearly and with executive ability. Mentor and guide are similar occupations. The sixth house of the horoscope is the area of occupation or work. With Neptune in it, I use alternate methods and innovative approaches to deliver information. And that fits with the scriber and with the metaphysicist. However, I also have the healer archetype in my seventh house, or relationships. So I need to put my skills as a specialist to help or serve others to integrate their consciousness. The process of energetic calibration is that of a channel, so as to speak, transferring energy to help people consolidate their own. My totem in this house is a lion. I had it hidden for a really long time. But in December 2018, I wanted to leave the school and Spirit said, no, it's not time yet. So I waited. That year, they consolidated the first level. They went into grade 9 and they got 22 children between the ages of 11 and 12. I had a whole group doing Spanish. And they corner me in the way young children do when they know that they overnumber you and they try to get away with doing anything except what you ask them to do, which is their homework and their work. And I almost succumbed, but the fighter in me, I had to either bring out the fire and set up strong boundaries or succumb. And it felt like a fight to death, literally, energetically speaking. One of those situations in life that either make you grow stronger or you quit and step out of that path for good, thinking that that's your next glass ceiling. I did win, but it took everything out of me. But I unearthed the courage, the strength, and personal power that I needed before moving to the next step, the power of the lion. Today, when someone crosses my boundaries, I just roar like a lion. It comes automatic. In the third house, I have the role of defender or protector and the archetype of the guardian of human dignity. So I believe that we need to learn to agree to disagree and permit others to follow their path without having to attack or defend ourselves. Every person has their own calling or destiny, and we can't or shouldn't force them to change their direction to benefit us. With Pluto in this house, I have the communication skills to allow me to express myself with conviction, strength, authority, and decisiveness. But I also have the totem Scarlet Macaw in this house, which gives my communication skills a range of language and emotion, which is called creative eloquence. That is, I tap into the energies of the moment spontaneously, and I translate them in a way that others may not be able, expressing them in a full range of energy frequencies. Normally, my coaching clients, I used to say, do you know why I'm saying what I'm saying? Do you resonate with it? And they used to say, yes. And I used to say, because I don't know why I am saying it. But ultimately, it would always help them. For me, a frequency of communication is a bracket of vibrational patterns that some people resonate with and some people don't. It depends on your level of consciousness at a time. So when you have a broader communication bracket, you can reach more people. In my case, I can communicate with people in general, from children to the elderly, people in almost any profession, any background, or economical level. I'm not scared of powerful people, because the heart connects us all. And when you open your heart chakra to compassion, you understand other people's right to be without expectations or conditions. Now you can see how a personality can be shaped with totems, archetypes, planets, past lives, gifts, attunements, energy work, healing sessions, current life contracts. Destiny becomes thus very strong, very aligned, very integrated. And when you wake up to your call, you and I and anyone who switched on becomes unstoppable. And although this is a lifetime journey, we can all get there if we decide that it's worthwhile working towards it. So I felt that all my skills were consolidating as I applied focus and concentration over a long period of time. My fifth house has the archetype of metaphysical scientist, dissecting, synthesizing spiritual data, putting it back together, reconceptualize it, rewrite it, to offer it, to teach it. And the totem is moose. In this same house, this archetype, fearlessness, resolution, or a headstrong spiritual searcher who won't take no for an answer and nor will be deterred. And that sums me up in just one paragraph. Jose always says that Uranus is upon us creating an electric transition, almost like a storm that we have been seeing coming slowly, watching the clouds gathering for a while, but maybe not acknowledging it, maybe choosing to look in a different direction. But I felt great peace inside to think that I had already made the internal transition to ready myself before this storm hit us, because I had already made the important transition. Now it was a second cycle of the same thing. So I used this time of lockdown as a bear in a cave, creating the specifics of what I wanted to do next, so that the next stage in my life started to shape. And so that I would not get struck by lightning, because Jose says that this is what happens when we don't address the signs. On the positive side, if you work with Uranus and address the signs, then these energies have the potential to light our way. But we need to be ready to address the changes. And depending on which house Uranus falls on, or house, relationships, traveling, work, arena, this is where we will see the destruction of the old paradigm and the construction of the new reality. Apparently, this happens every 5 to 6 years. Perhaps this explains the fact that I always change jobs every 5 or 6 years. Anyway, I was working with the spiritual energy of Uranus for about 3 years, in 2006 to 2009 or 10. And I think I've done it before, but that is when I consciously realized that I was doing it before all this arrived, and I couldn't put two and two together. But now looking backwards, I do, simply because it was upon me, and it would not let me go until I broke my existing safety net and recreated my new reality, which now I have done. Thank the Lord, which now I have done. Nobody knew what was going to hit the population of the Earth in February 2020 to 2020. But by then, I had already completed my personal transition and was ready to step out to guide others with my message and roar if necessary to stand my ground. And unknowingly, throughout this work, I was taking a step towards the threshold of the new world. Thank you very much for listening. See you next time.